Let's connect with Mr. Sudhir Vasudeva, Chairman and Managing Director of ONGC, who joins us from Delhi. Mr. Vasudeva, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Mr. Vasudeva, government is gunning ahead on the shale gas policy. What kind of potential reserve does India have? And B, Oil Ministry is indicating that existing contractors should be given the right to explore shale gas. How will this benefit a company like ONGC?
Taking your first question first, the reserves as has been estimated by USGS, which is United States Geological Survey, for Government of India, is about 66 TCF, and this is their initial assessment. After that, they were studying 3 basins out of this 10 basins where this shale gas potential is there, and then they came out with a different figure. So the figures are being verified, and meanwhile the policy was being drafted. Now the second question is, you say if the existing operators of conventional hydrocarbons are allowed to explore for unconventional, this is going to save time. First of all, for this entire exploitation to start. Second thing is, it will avoid the complication of 2 operators operating in one area, one for conventional, another for unconventional. So from those viewpoint, it is good. But only thing is, the infrastructure has to be ready. I mean, as everyone knows, the productivity of shale gas wells is low, so number of wells which are required to be drilled are large tract of land would be required, water would be required. Even for drilling wells, number of rigs would be required. For hydrofracturing, all those hydrofracturing facilities will be required. And if all this is done, the marketing for evacuating this gas to the market, infrastructure needs to be created. So all this will have to be addressed. So it's not that if we take case of ONGC, if it is from our existing fields where infrastructure is there, then of course it can be put on production. But if it is in some other place where infrastructure is not there, it will have to wait for infrastructure to be created.
Right. So sticking to gas, the Rangarajan committee has recommended gas prices have to eventually be linked to international market rates. So how will this impact the sector according to you, Mr. Vasudeva?
See, as a producer, we are happy and we'll welcome this. I mean, if the gas prices increase, it is good for us in the sense that talking about ONGC's future forays into deep water, etc., where the gas is to be exploited. I mean, it is difficult at $4.2. I mean, if you are working in deep water areas and the fields are marginal, the more the price, the better the economics becomes. From all those viewpoints, it is good for producers. But we also know that fertilizer producers and power producers are talking about. But the moot point is, in case the producers don't get remunerative prices and the gas is not produced, then what choice do they have? They have to only get LNG. So if this is going to be cheaper than LNG, then it should be welcome. And ultimately the consumers have to realize that in case the oil prices and the petroleum product prices internationally are rising, they'll have to ultimately pay that one day.
Mr. Vasudeva, Oil Ministry has proposed a ₹100 odd hike in LPG, about 4.5 in diesel. If fuel price hike is implemented anytime soon, I am using the word if, what kind of easing do you expect in upstream contribution going forward towards subsidy?
I mean, it will definitely help in reducing our subsidy burden. I mean, as everyone knows, out of the total subsidy which oil exploration companies have to give, about 80% is the burden of diesel subsidy, and balance is LPG and kerosene. So if the way we are reading in the media, if 4.5 rupees to be increased in diesel prices up to this fiscal and 1 rupee per month in next 5 months. So if not this year, at least by first half of next year, all these subsidies would be gone. If LPG prices are also increased, and the diesel, the way it is being, the kerosene, the way it is being reported, 65 paisa a liter. So I mean, even if, let's say, diesel alone is tackled and it is brought into market parity, this will ease the burden of subsidy to a very large extent.
So Mr. Vasudeva, I mean, with all the noise and steps towards diesel deregulation, how optimistic are you that it will actually be implemented this time around?
I'm only keeping my fingers crossed and hope that it happens.
What is your budget wish list for this fiscal? What exactly do you think ONGC will be seeking from from this year's union budget?
Our wish list was this year that the cess burden which was increased in the last finance bill was restored back to the original levels of 2,500 rupees a ton, and which again, if you're reading from the media, if it is not happening, this will add a burden of something like 4,500 to 5,000 crores on ONGC. And the subsidy burden, again, the way it is being projected, even if this diesel and LPG thing happens, it will reduce the burden to a minor extent, but as such, the burden is expected to be about 60,000 crores for upstream companies, and if ONGC has to pay 83% of that, it will be much more than what we paid last year. So against 44,466 crores, if it is going to be in excess of 50,000 crores, so let's roughly 6,000 crores of this and 5,000 crores more of cess. So the additional burden of about 11,000 crores. So this will erode our margins very badly, and this will affect our expansion programs. And not immediately, but whatever cash reserves we have, everything will be drawn down.
Right. So, Mr. Vasudeva, how did net realizations pan out in the December quarter, and what about crude prices? What's the outlook on both for the quarters ahead?
See, like you know very well that against $108.79 gross billing, we got only 46.37 in the first half. And the third quarter, the calculations are yet to be done, but there is no new formula, so it is at $56 a barrel per barrel of production which we had to pay. Plus, even the condensate is being included in this, so ultimately it comes to about $63 or $64 a barrel of subsidy which we have to give. So if the oil prices are still around 110, V63 is taken out, we are left with only 47. So this is not really a good news for us.
Mr. Vasudeva, what is the latest on the Kazganga acquisition and especially the 8.42% stake of Conaco which ONGC wanted to acquire?
Like they say, no news is good news. We haven't heard anything adverse from any of the operators who are supposed to give waiver for their right of first refusal. So that is only the first step, because there are 7 other partners in this block besides the Conaco Philip, whose 8.42% we are taking. And also the government of Kazakhstan, which has to give approval. So this is a 2-step process. So I mean, we are waiting for this, and then we are trying our best to convince all of them.